For more than 100 years, General Motors wasn't just in the business of making cars. They were building the American dream itself. But this titan of industry, a company that pretty much defined a nation, well, it eventually collapsed under its own weight. And now it's trying to pull off one of the biggest, most ambitious reinventions in corporate history. So let's get into it. The story of GM's incredible rise, its spectacular fall, and its maybe, just maybe, rebirth. To really get the scale of this story, you have to start with this number. Think back to the year 2000. General Motors stock hits its all-time peak, over $93 a share. I mean, the company was an absolute powerhouse. It was the symbol of American manufacturing might. They seemed totally, completely invincible. But then, just 9 years later, something unthinkable happens. That exact same stock, a stock that was once a cornerstone of Wall Street, was trading for, get this, less than $1. The giant had fallen. And man, it had fallen hard. So that's the big question, right? How on earth did a company that was once considered a barometer for the entire US economy go from the very top to the very brink of extinction? It's one heck of a story, full of vision, a little bit of hubris, and ultimately a desperate fight for survival. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll look at GM's journey in 4 main parts. First up, building the empire. Then we'll hit the golden age. After that, the long, slow decline. And finally, we'll get to rebooting a titan and its big bet on the future. All right, let's kick things off and go all the way back to the beginning. Now here's the thing you gotta understand. GM wasn't born in some single, tidy factory. No way. It was forged in this whirlwind of buying up companies, creating a massive, sprawling, and honestly, pretty disorganized empire. The guy behind it all was William Billy Durant, and this guy was a master dealmaker. Starting in 1908, he just went on this incredible buying spree. I'm talking snapping up more than 20 different companies in just a couple of years. Buick, Oldsmobile, Cadillac, you name it. He created this giant holding company that was just overflowing with brands, but it had almost no structure. Well, Durant's chaotic, buy everything approach, it eventually got him kicked out of his own company. And his replacement, a guy named Alfred P. Sloan, was the complete polar opposite. You see, where Durant saw deals, Sloan saw systems. He was this master organizer who took Durant's messy collection of car companies and turned it into a finely tuned strategic machine. And Sloan's stroke of genius? It was a concept he called the ladder of success. The idea was actually pretty simple, but it was absolutely revolutionary for the time. He wanted a car for every purse and purpose. So he gave each GM brand its own unique identity, its own price point, creating this really clear hierarchy for customers to climb. And here's how that ladder worked. You'd start your journey with, say, an affordable Chevrolet. Then, as you got a promotion, maybe you'd move up to a sportier Pontiac. From there, a respectable Oldsmobile, then a comfortable Buick, and finally, the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate symbol that you'd made it, a Cadillac. You see, GM wasn't just selling you a car, they were selling you a lifelong path of aspiration. Okay, so that strategy from Sloan, it worked better than anyone could have possibly imagined. And it kicked off a golden age where GM wasn't just a company anymore, it was basically a core part of the American identity. There's this famous quote from a GM president, Charles Wilson, that just says it all. In the 1950s, the company's health and the nation's prosperity, they were seen as the exact same thing. GM was this unbelievably dominant cultural and economic force. You want to know just how dominant? Check this out. In 1955, General Motors became the first American company ever to pay over $1 billion in taxes. In a single year. That's a scale of success that's just, it's hard to even wrap your head around today. But even at its absolute peak, the cracks were already starting to show. And that brings us right into our third act, the long, slow decline. Because starting in the 1960s, a whole series of missteps combined with a changing world really started to eat away at the giant's power. So what happened? Why did things start to go so wrong? Well, for one, the company got huge. It became this massive bureaucracy where the accountants and the managers who were obsessed with cutting costs started calling the shots instead of the engineers. And that led to a string of just infamous car failures. You had the Corvair slammed for safety issues, the Vega with its totally unreliable engine, the Citation, which had these huge recalls. All of these cars just did serious, serious damage to the public's trust. But maybe the biggest blow, it came from the inside. In 1977, this huge scandal blows up. Loyal Oldsmobile buyers, people who paid extra for that legendary rocket V8 engine, found out their cars actually had cheaper Chevrolet engines under the hood. The lawsuit that followed forced GM to put this really embarrassing disclaimer in their ads. But the real damage? The trust was completely broken. And really, that engine scandal, it was just a symptom of a much bigger problem. That same obsession with saving a buck had led to the strategy they call badge engineering. Basically, Sloan's whole ladder of success idea was being taken apart piece by piece. The brand started sharing way too many parts and designs, and before you knew it, a Chevy looked an awful lot like a Pontiac, which looked a lot like a Buick. Those unique identities just vanished, and customers were left wondering, wait, why should I pay more for an Oldsmobile if it's just a Chevy in a different suit? So you've got decades of decline, costs are piling up, and you've got fierce competition from imports. It all comes to a boil during the 2008 financial crisis. It was the perfect storm that finally forced this titan to its knees and set the stage for one very dramatic final act. And then, it happened. On June 1st, 2009, General Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. We're talking one of the largest corporate bankruptcies in American history. The company that was the symbol of American capitalism now had to rely on a massive government bailout just to survive. And the process was just painful. To get leaner, to get more focused, GM had to chop off entire branches of its family tree. I mean, legendary names. Pontiac, the brand that basically created the muscle car, gone, forever, along with other brands like Saturn and Hummer. But out of those ashes, a new GM started to emerge. It was way smaller, much leaner, and it was focused on just 4 core brands for North America. That old, sprawling empire was gone, and in its place was a company desperately trying to prove it had learned from its mistakes. And its strategy for the future? Man, it is one enormous gamble. The new GM is betting the entire farm on the electric revolution. They're shifting all their capital away from the gas and diesel engines that built the empire in the first place. We're talking tens of billions of dollars being poured into developing a whole new generation of electric vehicles. And that brings us to today. The very same company that defined the 20th century with gasoline and steel is now in a race to define the 21st century with batteries and software. It's an incredibly bold, super risky strategy that leaves us with one big final question. Is this the reboot that's finally going to work? Or is this iconic American company just driving full speed towards another cliff? I guess only time will tell.